I've seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So
with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we face, and that influences and affects so many aspects of our daily lives and is responsible for so many of our problems. And this is what I have dedicated myself to ameliorating in one way or another in my professional career as a therapist for the past 30 plus years. And what I've written about in my books and blog about on a couple of websites. I'll give you those in just a bit. But today's program is going to be a special program. As I mentioned in my blog post of last Friday on my personal blog, manipulative-people.com, I mentioned that this was going to be a special program, this being the Independence holiday weekend, tomorrow being Independence Day, 4th of July. We'll be 240 years old as a nation. And it's time to do some reflecting, I think, on where we've come and where we're going as a nation. And tonight is going to be special because, well, for two reasons. One is that the theme song that you hear playing at the beginning and end of this program every Sunday, I'm going to play that in its entirety. Once fairly soon, once again in the middle of the program, and once again toward the end of the program before the closing bumper. And so you get a chance to enjoy the full piece. And I don't mind at all if you record it. So feel free to do so. And I also don't mind if you share it, because it's the message that counts, and it's one that we want to spread far and wide. So I don't mind that at all. And I'm also going to be talking some about the song and its inspiration, because it's near and dear to me, as is the sum and substance of the issues that really inspired the song. it's not a blindly patriotic song. If you listen to it carefully, it's got a message to it. And I've talked about that before, but it bears repeating. It has to do with what really has been the source of this country's greatness during its times in history when it has truly been great. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. America's greatness has never resided in its substantial military might, nor its economic power. It's always resided in the character of its people. When we are great individually, we are great collectively. And when we're great collectively, we do fantastic things. And our country is great also. But it all hinges on who we are in character. That's what it all hinges on. It doesn't take really much, it doesn't take much close examination to bear out the truth of what I just said. Free society only works when those folks who are given freedom both respect that freedom, that liberty, and don't abuse it. And that requires character. It requires a moral compass to guide folks, not a government to micromanage every aspect of your life, but an internal, solid moral compass, personal integrity, personal dedication. That's what makes it all work. And when we have a lot of that, when we have the majority of us showing that kind of moral fiber, then we're great. We're absolutely great. So this program is special because it's going to be talking about the juxtaposition of our political situation, our cultural situation, and its effect on character and character development. And I really invite you to join the conversation. And if you feel a mind to, give us a call at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. We'll be happy to have you join the conversation and have you add your 2 cents to the topic that we're going to be talking about today. What really makes America great? How do we inspire each other to be great again? I know we have one particular candidate who's promising to do just that. But he makes a lot of people nervous when he starts talking about just what he thinks it would take or what he plans to do to accomplish those ends. Makes me more than a little nervous, too. So I want to talk a little bit before I play America, My Home, as it's commonly known. Its actual title is Anthem for the Millennium. I want to say a little bit about its inspiration before I play it for the first time. I'll play it in just about 5 minutes. Then I'll play it again a little past half the hour, and then I'll play it once again in its entirety, so you can record it if you'd like, at the end of the hour, just before the close. The reason I'm doing that is, people tune in at different times, and I want to make sure people hear it. I also want to invite as many folks as possible to join the chorus of performers who help carry the song's message in patriotic and other public venues, at civic events and other gatherings. The song has been used as a backdrop for many different things, and nothing edifies me more. And as a matter of fact, I'd like to hear from anyone who has performed the song, or whose group has, or who has heard the song performed at an event and has been touched by it. Um, I'd like to hear from folks about that. But let me give you just a little bit of background. The reason this is so dear to me, and it might sound a little hokey, but you're going to have to bear with me because, I don't do false hokey stuff. As a matter of fact, my wife thinks that really I'm not quite as sentimental as I ought to be. Uh, but I am really at heart. And there's something that really moved me when it came to the composition of this song. And I'll tell you how it came about. I am still in the process of completing a manuscript that may never get published because it is so comprehensive and because I'm so picky about it and because I have really not devoted the time that I would need to devote to complete it. When I finally do retire at the end of next year, when I finally do retire, really retire, not partially retire, but really retire, when I finally do that, I may have the time to finally complete it. But I've been working on this book, and I had been for some time. I was putting more earnest energy into it at the time. On the relationship between freedom and character. I was trained, like most therapists were trained, I was trained to view most human problems as stemming from unconscious fears and insecurities and emotional conflicts, that a person needed a loving hand, an empathic heart, to help guide them into getting in touch with their feelings and with repressed memories or with repressed feelings of some kind, come in contact with their unconscious anxieties, insecurities, and bring them to new levels of insight about those things. And then all would be well. That's what I was trained to do, just as most therapists were. But what I was noticing is that in increasing numbers, the folks seeking my counsel, and more importantly, the folks being pressured by someone, either their spouse, their boss, or someone else, being pressured to seek counsel. These folks were experiencing very different problems that weren't rooted in their unconscious fears and insecurities, but rather were rooted in their character, their underdeveloped moral character. They were letting themselves do things that they just shouldn't be letting themselves do. And they were letting themselves do those things precisely because they felt entitled, that they had a poor sense of obligation, or they were too selfish, too self-centered to think of anyone else but themselves. And I came to realize that character disturbance is the phenomenon of our time and culture. That something really dramatic and not for the good had occurred not just in modern American culture, but in many industrialized free societies. And it was having a profound impact on people and their ability to function adaptively, socially. And when I was musing on this and preparing to write about it, and just beginning to write about it, out of nowhere, this melody began to haunt me. I mean, haunt me, day in, day out, in the shower, in the car, in bed, at work, during leisure time, over and over again, in my head. And I have to tell you, outside of my one-time vocal abilities, I am the least musically inclined person on the planet. I am technically not gifted. So the idea of composing a musical composition was just, for me, out of the question. I'd never even dreamed of it before. On my wedding day, I put lyrics to a tune of public domain. That's as close as I'd gotten to anything like a musical composition. But as far as music goes, scoring and whatnot, just no skills there. But this melody would not leave me alone, and I couldn't figure out why. And the other weird thing is that even though I had no clue as to what the lyrics would be, I knew, number one, that it sounded to me like a patriotic piece, and number two, that a part of the words would be the phrase, America, my home. That much I knew. It was just implanted in my head. And it's the first time that I came in direct, intuitive contact with that great force at work in the universe that is beyond comprehension. That I came in contact with that force in that unique way. Someone or something was inspiring me to do something. Or it was going to keep pestering me until I got it done. And so I went to work. And I needed to find allies because, as I mentioned, I am not that gifted. So I had to find some folks who were. And I had to work with them. And I said, you know, this is what's in my head. This is what I hear. How do we make this a reality? And I was driven to do it. This was in 1998. Coming close to the turn of the millennium. The song was copyrighted in 1999 and officially titled Anthem for the Millennium. My wife and I, who collaborated with me on the lyrics, bless her, because if it hadn't been for one of my brothers who teased out of me what I wanted to say, and my wife, who is a gifted poet, there would be no lyrics for this song. But to make a long story short, I worked with these folks and then eventually produced the product that came to be known as America, My Home, its subtitle. And after I play it for you for the first time, I'll tell you a story about what happened with it after I got it done. But for the first time this evening, in its entirety, let me play for you on this holiday weekend the full version of the song that you hear introduce and close out this program, Anthem for the Millennium, more commonly known by its subtitle, America, My Home. Here we go.
I have seen
I'm not sure why we're not
torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dreams some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings we have known, I will honor her forever. America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. May freedom reign across America, my
Well, there it is. You heard it in its entirety. Anthem for the Millennium, more commonly known as America, My Home. I'll be telling you a little bit more about its inspiration and some events connected to it in just a few moments. But if you want to join the conversation, please do by giving us a call at area code 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. Happy to hear your thoughts on this holiday weekend where we celebrate our independence. We celebrate what we perceive to be, or what some perceive to be, an unfair and oppressive government. And by the way, It was not a majority opinion. This country was founded by a pretty vocal minority. Folks who were willing to put their lives on the line to be fairly represented as they saw it, and non-oppressively taxed. They wanted to be the possessors of the fruits of their labor. And they didn't want to be micromanaged. They also designed a system whereby decent people, people with a solid internal moral compass, by being granted the same kinds of freedom, from oppression, from micromanagement by government, that these folks would just naturally flourish. They would prosper, and they would create opportunities that would benefit all. And because they had the moral compass to guide them, they would make sure that those less fortunate among them were properly cared for. That the rights of minorities would be protected. Now, this sounds really good in theory, but you know, human nature being what it is, we always having to struggle with forging good character. Human nature being what it is, that ideal was not measured up to many times, even by the great men and women among us. Certain groups of people treated shabbily. Freedom and opportunity denied to many. Abuses of power. Periods in our history where rightfully we should hold our heads down in some shame for not only what many of us individually did, but what we collectively allowed to happen. America is more of a dream. It's more of an idea. Its promise is not always the reality. Hence the lyrics in the song you just heard. I will strive to keep her promise. That's personal. That's personal. And that's why many people who perform the song or who hear it and then ask to perform it or who hear it and were touched by it and write me to tell me about it, that's what they tell me is what touches them and how they got goosebumps. It is personal. Each and every one of us has this obligation to both revere and keep the promise that is America. We're only going to be, as a nation, what we as individuals in character bring to it. It's as simple as that. We can't point the finger of blame anywhere but on ourselves when we don't measure up. Even if we're not the actors of commission that do some of the dastardly things that we have done in times past. Because many times through omission, we didn't speak up in protest. We didn't take action to right wrongs. We didn't do our part to ensure justice. It's all in our hands, every bit of it. This is our country. It's our country. And it's up to us. It's up to each and every one of us. And that's the whole point. So I wanted to make it personal. And I was telling you earlier about how I came to eventually work with a group of folks to produce this piece. After it was done, I had absolutely no idea what purpose it would serve. Absolutely none. I had worked with some folks to produce the song. Actually, there were 3 different versions of it and 2 different arrangements, major arrangements of the song. It's actually on its 3rd right now. And I had produced this, and it was on one single solitary cassette tape. I know some of you out there might not even remember cassette tapes. And I had no idea what I was going to do with that cassette tape. As a matter of fact, my wife and I, after we'd finished the project, we were actually just content to get this put behind us because it had driven me absolutely crazy, like I said before, to do something about this, to get it done. But I had no idea what it was for. So we were content to just sit in our automobile, drop the cassette in the cassette player, and listen to what we'd accomplished. We had no idea that there was any other purpose than to just do it. And one day, I happened to be strolling around one of our downtown parks here in Little Rock, Arkansas, where I'm based. And I actually had the cassette tape in my pocket because I had been playing it on a portable, one of those Walkman type devices, on a portable player. And I came across a sign that was directing people to a meeting room near this park where organizers of one of our Memorial Day riverfront celebrations, a large event, organizers for this event were meeting and planning the event. And on a pure lark, because the Memorial Day festivities always concluded with a fireworks display preceded by a short program with our symphony orchestra of some patriotic pieces, about 8 minutes worth of patriotic music, 8 to 10 minutes, and then fireworks. And just on a lark, I thought somebody might be interested. So I followed the signs to where these folks were meeting, and uninvited and unannounced, rapped on the door and dropped in. And of course, I was looked at kind of skeptically by the folks who were organizing this thing. And I indicated that I had something I would like them to hear. And I was so nervous about it, I could barely talk. But then I just handed a person, I have no idea what role they played in this organizing committee. I handed the person this tape, and I said, just listen to it. And this, by the way, was the only tape I had, was this cassette tape. And I said, would you please just listen to this and then do with it as you please? And I left fully well thinking that they would just throw it in the circular file, as it were, and that would be the end of it. But for some reason, I felt a sense of relief that I had done that. Well, a few days passed, and I left some contact information. I never heard anything, and so I figured, nobody even bothered with it or whatever. And then, to my surprise, I was contacted by the event's main organizer, who said that one day, with very little to do after folks had met, he decided to play this piece and was so moved by it that he played it for a few more committee members, and they were so moved by it that they decided they wanted to include it in the program before the fireworks. And they said they had plans to make a big production out of it. And I couldn't believe it. and then it almost didn't happen. The singer who sings on the version that you heard is well known, and it was well known in the area, had a long history. And he was on stage, prepared to go on. The orchestral tracks were all queued up, ready to go. Number one, the weather was threatening to cancel the entire event, including the fireworks. And number two, the orchestra that was playing was misinterpreting the cue to wrap up their montage, their medley of tunes, and let the organizer introduce this piece. So they just kept playing, and times were getting close to either they were going to have to set off the fireworks or close the place down because the weather was threatening. And and the organizer had actually come out on stage and instruct the leader, the conductor, the maestro of the symphony, to yield to the performer, which, by the way, didn't sit very well with the maestro. And all the time, I'm sitting in the audience with my wife and family, just biting my fingernails to the nubs. And then the performance began, and then the typical reaction from the audience. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew that it was going to have a purpose. And I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. But once again, before I do, we're going to cue this up to play one more time, America, My Home, for your listening.
I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. Oh, America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings we have known, I will honor her forever. America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. May freedom reign across America, my
There we are again. Anthem for the Millennium, more commonly known as America, My Home. Well, there's more to the story, which I'll get into in just a bit here, but if you have a comment or something you'd like to share or something you'd like to add, please give us a call at 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. Happy to have you join the conversation on this holiday weekend, our 240th birthday as a nation, July 4th, 2016. Well, as I was saying earlier, there's more to this story. So on Memorial Day of 2001, the song had its premiere before about 12,000 people, whose response convinced me that it would have a purpose, and that I knew that we'd done well by following our hearts and the inspiration and this absolute drive to do this that came from somewhere. And But I didn't know what that purpose would be. We would find out. We would find out with the horrific attacks of 9/11. What happened there is truly remarkable. When the attacks happened, something really amazing happened to our populace. And that is, people started to really galvanize. You saw it everywhere. I got comments from people I knew living in all the other states that similar things were happening. People were making runs on department stores and whatnot, and purchasing patriotic material, flags and banners and whatnot, and adorning their cars and hanging the flags in their yard. And so I thought, maybe this is the time to see if there were a way to get the song and its message to a wider audience. And so I drove the 5.5 hours that it takes to get from Little Rock to Nashville, which still had a substantial influence at that time on the music industry. There were still local operations of some of the bigger companies. They all pulled out not too long after that and went to centers in New York and L.A. But at that time, there was still at least some presence, not a huge presence, but some presence in Nashville, because of it being the country music capital for such a long time. And so I started pounding the pavement. And the reaction I got was pretty universal. Everybody who heard it loved it, but everybody said pretty much the same thing. What use for it would we have? What use would there be for it? Who would sing it? And besides, we don't want to capitalize on the tragedy. And I agreed with that. Matter of fact, I thought, maybe they're right. We don't want to capitalize on a tragedy. It would be nice if the sentiment were out there. It would be nice if the message were out there. But maybe this is not the way to do it. So I piled back in my car and started heading home, doing the long drive back to Little Rock. And I'm about maybe a little less than an hour out of town. I've got about 50 minutes to go in my drive. And my wife calls me on my cell phone and sounds frantic. And she says, just listen. And I guess she puts the phone up either against a radio or TV, and I'm hearing what sounds like our song. And she, between the tears and the crying that she's doing and the excitement, I finally make out from her that a local TV station that has regional connections to other network affiliates in the area has put together a montage of the events of 9/11 and is using this song as a backdrop and is feeding it to these affiliates and using it to close news segments
every evening on the evening news, the early evening and late evening news. And I couldn't believe it. And then the phone started to ring, she said, with people calling. And from that day, the snowball gathered mass. It was like a large snowball rolling downhill, gathering both steam and mass. That was the beginning of exposure. There was another event at another patriotic venue that our state's governor and a local philanthropist organized to celebrate all the men and women in uniform. And there was a feed of that event to CNN that helped give even greater exposure. This time, there were 40,000 people in attendance, and the impact was palpable. And it was so edifying to know that there was a purpose all along, an unknown purpose at the time, and all I had to do was to honor the inspiration that I know came from someplace else. And since then, there have been hundreds of performances all across the country. A couple, like one of the YouTube videos I put up, a couple of the performances have been large-scale events with full orchestra and choral, like in the massive celebration that they have every year in the Bay Area, in the San Jose area of California. And you can go to the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, and see it there, where people are rising to their feet and obviously having the same response that we've grown so accustomed to now. And then I get beautiful cards and letters, and I get emails and other notes from folks, both who have been touched on the hearing and folks who want to join the course of singers and performers, choral groups, and whatnot. And there's nothing that edifies me more. We all have a duty to make this dream a reality. It's really the idea of America. It's really that people of good character can manage their own affairs better than anybody else and can do great things. That's the idea. Just leave good people alone and watch fantastic things happen. They'll be guided by their own internal compass. They'll be guided by their own desire to do good. And collectively, all those do-gooders will do great. So, once again, for the last time before we close, here again is Anthem for the Millennium, America, My Home, for your listening enjoyment. Happy 4th, everyone.
I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dreams some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. Oh, America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So with deep appreciation for the blessings we have known, I will honor her forever. America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. May freedom reign across America, my
Well, there you have it once again and one last time in its entirety. Our opening and closing theme song, Anthem for the Millennium, America, My Home. Enjoy your holiday. Never forget what makes this country great. We're great collectively when we're great individually. It's our character that makes all the difference. And we'll be great again and invincible as a country when we get our character act together. I'm Dr. George Simon, thanking you for joining me this evening. I wish you a blessed and prosperous holiday and enjoyable holiday. And I'll be back next week with another edition of Character Matters. Take care. See you then, everyone. And remember, what makes us great is who we are. Take care.